Here are the top 10 useful gifts for a beginner videographer. All of these are gear that I personally use and find really useful in production. So without any delay, here's my first one. It's not that glamorous, but here it is: Arca Swiss plates and quick release clamps. These plates and clamps are really cheap and affordable, little pieces of gear they can use, and I think that they are a must for any videographer. You need some sort of quick release system, and this is a great one to enter into because of the low cost entry. You can get a 2-pack of these plates on Amazon for about 16 Canadian or 13 US dollars, and you can get these and/or clamps for about $28. SmallRig also has a version of this clamp, but it doesn't have this unique locking mechanism, which I think is actually a great selling point for this. If you see here, this is the arm that locks it. But the nice thing about this one is that if you push on this without declicking the locking mechanism, it's not gonna move. So you have no worries about your finger jamming on this lever here and accidentally releasing your camera and falling, and yeah, you just don't want that. So this little locking mechanism is super helpful. Now you might be wondering, what's the big deal about all these plates and so on? Not super exciting of a gift to get. Well, if you have to do a lot of changing in your setup between, let's say, a tripod and then to a gimbal and then something else, having these plates permanently attached to your camera at the bottom makes that super simple, especially if you have these clamps on every single one of your tripods and gimbals and so on. Then it's just as simple as taking it off of one, clamp it onto the next one, lock it in, and you're good to go. It takes you, all of maybe 2 or 3 seconds to do. Whereas if you're constantly unscrewing and screwing base plates, that's a lot of wasted time. And when you're on a shoot, time is money, right? And you want to be efficient. You don't want your client to be waiting around while you screw, unscrew, right? Like, that's just not good. So pick up a few of these, trust me, you'll really enjoy them. Now, the next item on my list is sort of related, and this is the Beetle clip from PGYTECH. This handy little clip goes for about $80 Canadian on Amazon or $60 in the US. Peak Design also has a version of this that's a little bit more expensive. I found though that this one is just as good and, save a little bit of money. The build construction is really high quality, it's very solid. It doesn't move once you've got that secured on. It's got a little latching mechanism that clips onto belts or straps, or, I put it on my backpack strap, and that's just kind of where it lives. It's also got a safety locking mechanism here so that you don't accidentally drop your camera, or your camera doesn't accidentally unlock and slip out. The plate below it is a Arca Swiss plate, which is the same as those other ones from the previous item, which is really great because now you've got interchangeable plate systems here. Because if you've got this Arca Swiss plate here on your camera, you can not only lock it into this really easily like that, right? But now you can also pop this onto those clamps from the previous item. So if you've got this system, you can really quickly go from having it on, your backpack like this, and then unlock it, and 2 seconds later, it's on your tripod. And then let's say you need to now start to run and gun with your gimbal, you can quickly detach it and put it onto your gimbal, really quick and easy, super smooth. Having this system is really helpful. Now, the third item is actually a couple of items, but also related to this Arca Swiss system of locking plates and base plates and clamps and so on. This is the SmallRig Universal Height Adjustable Base Plate and Rail Support System with rod clamp and 8-inch rods. And you can build out your camera rig with this. With those 8-inch rods, you can attach on through the rod clamp a whole bunch of other accessories. I use it to attach my portable battery to my camera, and that way it has juice all throughout my shoot. I can shoot all day on that. Also, the fact that it's height adjustable is really helpful because sometimes you may have lenses of different sizes or attachments, or perhaps even a hood that you might want to add on, and you need that extra little bit of height in order to get the clearance for it. This is a great base plate that allows you to do that. Now, continuing along with this theme of interchangeable things and being able to mount your camera different ways, one of the most important things is a good sturdy tripod. And here's a good budget option. It's the NEEWER N555. It's a 77-inch tripod, so gets you up pretty high if you need to. Certain shots, perhaps you need to shoot over people's heads and so on. And it's actually quite sturdy, especially for a budget tripod that comes in under $100. There's a ball head version, and then I have the video head version, the fluid head. And this gives you the ability to do really smooth pans and tilts with your tripod. This is not my main tripod, but it's definitely a helpful and useful one, definitely for a budget tripod for a second camera, or if you're just getting started off, this is a great starter tripod. You can see also that I've already got one of those plates on here, so it's super easy to snap my camera onto here and then take it off and put it on a different tripod if needed, or on my gimbal. Again, having one system of camera plates and clamps, such as the Arca Swiss, super handy. Now, one really cool feature about this, especially in a budget tripod, is that it's got actually a detachable monopod system. So if I unscrew this here, this leg can become a monopod and you can attach this video head to it. So you can be a lot more mobile if you need to be moving around. Let's say you're shooting in a conference or something. This is really great. Or let's say if you want to put your camera on top of here with a ball head and then extend it up so you get some nice high shots, you can do that really easily with this tripod. I love this feature. Moving along, the next item in this top 10 list of useful gift items for a beginner videographer, one of the things that they should have in their toolkit is one of these, which is a color checker. I've got the one from Calibrite, which is the color checker passport. And this one has 3 pages in it. It's got your color checker page, right? So you can check your colors and make sure that you've got everything right and matched up in terms of color matching. And then it's got also a white balance and focus page. But this is super handy on shoots where you just get your talent to hold this up like this in front of their face. And then that way you've got a shot where you can now make sure to pick those colors on your post processing as you're doing your color grading and match your shots so you know that you have perfect skin tones, or if you're using multiple cameras, you can match those cameras really, really well. Now this one is more than $100. So there is an alternative one, which I'm going to link in the description, that's under $100 that would do basically the same thing. That one is called the Datacolor Spider Checker 24. But honestly, either one should be fine, and especially for a beginner, you can start off with the cheaper version. All right, number 6 on this list is a clamp, the Magic Arm. This one's from SmallRig. There's a couple of different brands that sell these. You can try out different ones to see if you like those. But these ones are the ones that I have, which is from SmallRig. They're super steady. They can clamp onto pretty much anything and gives you a really secure grip to then mount stuff on. So you can use these to mount monitors or mics, or I've even used this to mount my iPad Pro, which is pretty heavy with the case, right? It's strong enough that it can actually hold up the iPad Pro, no problem. These are super useful on your shoot as you're gonna need to mount certain things to your rig. And this gives you a really quick and easy way to do that without having to set up another tripod or a stand. These are also pretty inexpensive, so it's worth picking up a few if you're gonna be doing a lot of shooting or building out your rig. I've got 2 right now. I've got the longer and the shorter version. Next up, super important, if you're shooting video, you gotta have good memory cards. And a lot of people just buy these cheap ones, and don't get me wrong, I've bought some of them too. And I wouldn't use them necessarily on professional client shoots. Instead, I use these ones, which are actually a great budget option for fast cards. So if you need to do shooting, super slow-mo at 4K 120p, these cards are actually fast enough to do that. They're called the Sabrent V90 cards, and this is the 64GB version here. And I've got a few of these, and they're really great. They're fast, they're reliable. Sabrent or Sabrent, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's a pretty trustworthy brand in terms of quality and so on. There are more expensive and higher grade cards that you could get, but again, this is a budget video, and this is a great one to start off on if you're just getting started as a beginner. Another good brand that I found is the Lexar Professional. I've got the V60 cards, and those ones are fast enough to do 60 frames a second at 4K. I don't think you can do 120 with them, but again, good budget option from a pretty decent manufacturer. Now, a little note, the Lexar V90s are actually slightly faster than the Sabrent versions of the V90. But for me, this hasn't really affected the performance much in my use cases. I've used both and never had any problems recording on them. So I think that the Sabrent cards at almost half the price of the Lexars is the better deal for this budget list. Both will be down in the description though. All right, next up, you can't shoot if you don't have juice to shoot, right? And every beginner videographer is going to need batteries. And you could buy the Canon or Sony battery depending on your camera brand. The official ones, they are great, but they are quite pricey and could add up. So there are some other brands that are pretty decent that I've found. This one is called Joiry, Joiry, and they make some pretty decent camera batteries for Sony, and they've also got Canon and Nikon versions as well. The nice thing is that they sell theirs in 2 packs, right? Which comes with a charger, which is pretty cool. This is a 2 battery charger, and I really like this one actually. The display that shows you kind of the process of the charging is really nice and clear and easy to read. I actually prefer it to the SmallRig version of this because the display is a lot easier to read at a glance. Now in the US, you may not have this brand Joinery, but there are other brands that you can get, such as Power Extra, that are basically the same thing and come in at a similar price and are gonna save you some money from buying the official camera brand batteries. In my experience, this brand though has worked and never given me any error messages or problems with using in camera. There are some other brands that I've used where it'll tell you, oh, this is a off-brand battery and it can't be guaranteed safe to operate. So every time you put it in, you have to, click that little warning. These ones don't give me that warning, which is nice. Next up for useful gifts for a beginner videographer is a good pair of headphones. And I think getting good IEMs are really good. That is in-ear monitors. These headphones are specialized. They are often used in bands and in musicians and so on, but I found them really helpful for doing video work because the worst thing you can do is be on a shoot and then come back home to edit and you hear the audio and it's terrible. You want to make sure that you have really good, clear, crisp audio with no noises in it. So these headphones are great. They fit over the ear like this, very comfy, and I actually quite like the cord because it doesn't get all janky and tangled up. This cord is really nice, especially on a shoot. You don't want to be having to waste time trying to untangle your cords, right? So you can get these or you can get wireless ones as well. I like wired stuff just because it's more reliable. The brand that I use is the KZ ZSN Pro. And there's 2 versions of it, one with a mic and one without. I have the one without a mic because again, it's being used for videography. I don't need that mic. And the last item here in this top 10 list is going to be a good SSD, external SSD, because you're gonna be doing a lot of video. That's a lot of gigabytes that you need to have of storage, and internal storage on computers is often a lot more expensive than buying some external storage. And good fast external storage like this, you can actually edit off of. These are the Samsung T7s. They're super fast. I edit off of them all the time and they're really good and reliable. These are USB-C Thunderbolt hard drives, and there's 4 versions that you can get. There's a 500 gigabyte version, a 1 terabyte version, a 2 terabyte version, a 4 terabyte version. I've got the 2 terabyte versions. A couple of these is really good and handy to have so you can edit off of. Perhaps you've got different types of projects and you can have different SSDs for each type of project that you're working on. That way you have something fast to work off and have a reliable backup. But then I also will buy like a spinning hard drive and maybe a RAID configuration to continue to back those up after you've done your projects and just to offload them to that. I love also how small and portable these are. They don't need any extra power. Just plug it in through one single USB-C cable and you're good to go. Well, I hope that you found some value in this video and some good ideas for good gifts for a beginner videographer in your life. If I've missed anything that you think should be on this list of top 10 useful gifts under $100 for beginner videographers, let me know down in the comments.